Hi, I'm Ari Kolender from Found Oyster and Queens Raw Bar and Grill. I'm here today at the LA Times to teach you how to be safe and shuck oysters well, and we're going to make a little mignonette alongside it to showcase some of the finest things in the sea, which is the title of my new cookbook with artisan books. It showcases 100 simple recipes to make food at home that doesn't seem too complicated. The process is intimidating. You have a sharp knife, you have something that's fighting against you. There's, do I use a glove, a towel, all this stuff. How do I get this little hinge to open? It can be very, very hard. And it's not easy, but if you learn how to do it and what you're really looking for, it can be. So, we'll talk about this in a bit, but it's not a pressure game. Everyone wants to just really dig in and get that thing open, and that's going to make you hurt yourself. Again, it's not about pressure, it's about leverage, right? So you're trying to separate these two shells that open naturally anyways. So when you're shopping for oysters, there's a few things you need to take into account. First off, always ask when they were harvested. Oysters can live for a really long time out of the water, but they start to lose their infrastructure inside, which is the liquid, the water from where they grew up. And that's what keeps them delicious. It's what they live on, basically. So the longer this has been out of the water, the more times it's actually in the fridge when you're not looking, opens up, and some of that liquor spills out. Find something that has been out of the water for the least amount of time. If you can find something under a week, and I know that sounds like a long time, but it's really not, that's what you're looking for. And on top of that, you just want to make sure that they look fresh and clean, that there's none open in the display. If an oyster opens and stays open, it is dead. You should throw that oyster away. The other ones around it will only be affected if some of that liquor spills onto it, which is not a big deal. You can just rinse them, rinse that off, and go about using those oysters. First thing we're gonna do is make mignonette. This is Joe's mom's recipe that came originally out of the Island Creek cookbook. You can use this right away if you want to, but honestly, it's best if it sits for just a little bit, mainly for the jalapeno and the shallot to get infused into the liquid. I always use a towel when I shuck oysters. There's no other way about it. It's the safest way to be. I personally like to shuck oysters in my hand like this. A lot of people like to put it flat on the table and do it this way, which is also probably the safest thing. And I would recommend doing it this way when you're starting out. It just helps you get the physics of it down. When you talk about an oyster, the first thing you need to do is identify how to get into it, And the principle is that, so you see that there is a cup to this. The cup should always be facing down, and then the top is a flat shelf. So that is the top of the oyster for our purposes. And then the other side is that there's the hinge side, which comes down to a point of a V, and then the top of the lip, which is the half circle up there. So you want to have the hinge facing you, and your knife is designed to fit into a hinge very well. Now, it might not be the same place every time. Sometimes it might go this way. Sometimes it might go, like this one actually fits better going this way. So you have to determine how this feels comfortable. Like the knife will tell you where it needs to be. So once you find it, that's your entrance point. And so I'm pressing down on the oyster to keep it nice and still. And at this point, I'm basically going to give a tiny bit of pressure, but then move the knife in this kind of almost a U motion back and forth. And that allows you to create a little bit of friction between the top shell and the bottom shell, which opens it up. The oyster is attached to the top shell and the bottom shell from the adductor muscle. And the muscle goes straight through from the top to the bottom. So your job now is to disconnect the top shell first, and then we're going to release the meat from the bottom shell and leave it there for serving. I run the knife down the side of the shell until you can see the muscle, you know, and my fingers holding this top shell are allowing me to be delicate and not just like, you know, this muscle flying around. So now that I have a way of holding it and identifying what I need to do next, it's important to realize that like this is not your chef's knife. You're not slicing the meat off of the shell. You're actually pushing the meat off of the shell. So I'm gonna keep this knife on the top of the shell. You can hear that. And basically just scrape the meat off. We're gonna do the same process of getting the adductor muscle off of the bottom of the shell. So I like to use my thumb as a kind of a backboard here again to just hold the oyster in place. And I'm gonna naturally just follow the shape of the shell, holding the knife on the shell itself to scrape off the meat. And so you can always just check and make sure that it's free. Wait, how many am I just shucking? One? Like how fast is one?
Yeah. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Time.
7.41 seconds.
Some might say that's slow, but it is a perfect oyster. We did it.